Welcome everyone, and today, lucky enough to interact with rank 406 All India in NEET-MDS 2023, Dr. POOJA Yadav, graduate from RV Dental College, Bangalore, Karnataka. Congratulations once again, Dr. POOJA, to you, your family for this immense success this year.
Thank you so much, sir. I really can't believe we are doing this today because I still remember in the beginning of my internship, I was binge watching all the toppers interview on your channel. And it feels like life has come a full circle. I was always imagining how amazing it would feel to be in the top 500. And, when it's actually a reality, it still feels like a dream. So I literally owe a lot of my success to both you and ma'am for ensuring not just, preparation and strength per se, but also you ensure to be there for us 24/7. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for your kind words, and it's all your hard work which has paid off in the end, along with internship, college, hectic schedule, daily life, busy life of Bangalore city. Still,
Yes,
you
sir.
managed to cope up with the studies, attended all classes, whether live or recorded. Just share your experiences. How was the journey all through the year? What subjects you used to be like not confident in the beginning, but now you are super confident about them? All yours.
Yeah, so basically, I must admit that I was never the smart student, neither was I the hardest working student in the room. Dentistry happened by choice. I was very sure I wanted to be a play school teacher. And then I thought, okay, let me just give dentistry a shot. Still you get to work with kids, you get to work with patients. And I think the first 2 years were particularly very rough for me because I didn't expect not having patient interaction. It was very different from what I expected. There's just cement all around and this plastic teeth, and it was not anything what I expected. And that was a very rough phase for me per se. But what really helped me was during the pandemic, it gave me a lot of time to sort of introspect and see what works best for me. And that's when I stumbled upon a lot of study techniques. In our country, we generally emphasize on learning, but the art of learning itself is not really taught, right? So we are asked to study something so well that we don't have to revise it again. But if you look at the scientific side of it, even if you spend 1 hour reading something, it is very different from doing the same thing 10 minutes at a different interval. So I found out a lot of these things, which was probably ingrained in the wrong way throughout my preparation, right from, say, nursery. And then that was why my results never reflected up till my second year. And third year gave me that chance to sort of see what works best for me rather than just blindly follow anything. And that's when I stumbled upon techniques like active recall. So basically, this is what you do. Like when you read a notes, you just put the information into your brain. But learning as such is when you retrieve information. For example, you remember your phone number or your address because you constantly retrieve that piece of information, not just because you put it. So this is something which I never knew. And that's when I came up with making my own flashcards, small pieces of information I used to write down, which is on that piece of sheet, and then actively recall what I've written. And then revision is something which I had never done throughout my life. And that's when I also realized that how important revision was in my third year. And I started making my own schedule for revision, and I had 1 month, right? If I can't revise something, I won't study it. So that really helped me a lot in my third year. And during the lockdown, one of my friend who was in a deemed institute, I'm not going to mention the name, but she was having a very tough time. That's when she stumbled upon your academy, and she passed on a lot of your notes. I didn't know the head and tail of the institute, but I had a lot of your notes and material. And I must admit, I was nowhere in the top 30 in the first 2 years, but then I topped third year only because of doing your medicine notes,
I
ma'am. Like
remember your
nobody.
call in the evening,
Yes,
late evening
yes,
for
sir.
that.
So I had no clue whatsoever about the notes, anything, any institute, nothing. I just then I realized with just few books, if I'm able to do so much, imagine with the kind of guidance we get. And I was pretty much telling every single junior this. If I had a chance to have this kind of coaching from first year, I would have definitely blindly taken it up. So that's one thing I realized. And if there's few takeaways for my juniors, which I believe rather than just motivating you guys, because motivating will just get you started, right? After that, what needs to be in place is a very reliable system, which goes on even if you're happy or sad. And for me, like I mentioned, I'm not the smartest or the hardest working person in the room, but I had very strong work ethics. Like even if I am tired, I'm happy. It's my graduation. I ensured before I go to bed, I do at least the questions of the day. Even if it's 10 questions, I made sure I didn't lose the track of what studying feels like. And a lot of my friends as well were very hardworking, but they were very intense in the preparation. It was not consistent. So I would like my juniors and my friends to know this, even if it is little, do it every single day. And contrary to the popular belief, a few books in the market, MCQ books, are not the Bible. And that I really want to thank Sir and Ma'am for ensuring you don't emphasize and glamorize these textbooks, right? I was just in time. I must admit there would be extra 2 zeros if I had followed whatever the other population had to say with my rank. Had I followed that particular book, blindly, I don't think I would have done this. My reality check was during my NICT. When I sat down, I realized I had not done my notes throughout the year. I just focused on MCQ books. And when I sat for NICT, I realized everything I remembered was only from my notes. Nothing was from the MCQ because it's isolated pieces of information. You can't really go and retrieve anything from a book which has so many MCQs. But still, I could picturize every single diagram I had drawn, every mnemonic I had written in my notes. It could just come back very easily for me. And I guess after NICT, after talking to Sir, my preparation went 360 degree. I'm like, I'm going to focus on my notes. So from then on, just in time, damage control was done, and I did just my notes. This might seem like a shocking news, but I've just done Pulse once, maybe not even properly. I focused on my notes. Pulse only the past paper synopsis, I was thorough with them. And the areas which were a little gray during my first reading of Pulse, I just went through it. But I didn't make it seem like that is my active source of resource for my preparation. So that's one thing I want my juniors to know. And apart, yes.
And one thing, Dr. Pooja, I must say, you are, you have said this twice. You were not the smartest. You are not, but you are coming across as the smartest person.
My
thank you.
reaction to your this few minutes of conversation, not conversation, your monologue.
Right,
Just
sir.
wow. What she has
Yes,
said, each and every word
absolutely.
makes the sense, even to, you can say, the remotest of things we never have thought of, that scientific methodology of
Yes,
remembering things, not remembering things, revising, not revising, and all that.
yes, sir.
Please don't call
Thank you.
yourself not
Not
smart
smart.
kid.
Yes.
Thank you,
Because see,
Amit.
beta, what is the purpose of education? It's just not marks, right? It
Correct.
is how you imply. And you
Yes,
have
sir.
implied everything in your life.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
truly commendable.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
And you topped medicine. So that was
Yes,
like
I
ma'am.
cannot
very
forget that call that evening. We had a long conversation. Now, what should I do? She said, okay, you have topped, just enjoy the day first. And she's asking me, what should I do next? What should then finally, final year got over. Then she said, what should I do next? Like,
Right.
many of the BDS students are very dreadful, frightful of medicine. But I
Yes,
really want to, you should rather tell everyone how important medicine is for a BDS person.
definitely, ma'am.
It is important. Now,
Very
when you will
important.
sit in your clinic,
Yes,
then
ma'am.
you will be a complete doctor.
Definitely. And even during case history, the way I approach every patient changed after, the
third
kind
year
of
thing.
training I got. And you start
Yes.
to review a patient more than just the mouth, right? Like a patient as a whole. That really happened only when you know the crux of the subject. And that really pushed me very hard to, do well in my final year exam. And, I would never imagine again getting the same kind of result in my final year. I was also again in the top 3. So that really pushed me to work even harder towards internship. So consistently to keep that going, to have my concepts clear, I guess that was the most biggest challenge for me. And I must admit that your institute did a fabulous job in that stuff.
No, you have actually proved this one saying of the great Kapil Dev. You
Thank
taste
you.
success once, the
Yes,
tongue wants more.
correct,
Right?
ma'am.
No, she is a
Yes,
living proof. Anna, Dr. Amit?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you reminded me of one thing I'll share. I don't think I've shared on YouTube ever. When I
Okay.
started my practice, clinical practice in 2006, I was working with few clinics first, and there I saw a trend, and that even I started in my own clinic. That whenever a patient, say 50, 60-year-old patient used to come for treatment, say extractions or implants, whatever, first thing we used to do is please apne, go and take consent from your physician, whether you are fit for
Right.
this dental procedure or not. And I used to be really not able to understand why we have to send it to that MBBS or MD
Correct.
doctor.
Yes,
Why
Absolutely.
can't we judge based on the vitals, based on the test reports the patient is
definitely.
carrying? But
Hmm.
today we don't do that. Well,
Yes,
after like 4 5 years, I started realizing that it's our duty, it's our job to study medicine, anatomy, physio, biochem,
Actually, it's the
patho.
whole education system.
Absolutely.
They
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
teach much of that, but they have,
Correct.
we have to know everything.
Correct.
Pharmacology, drugs,
But as
everything.
a fresh BDS graduate, I was told like patient BP is say 150, 190. I was like, you have to send it to doctor to take a consult. Why can't we opine on this?
Correct. Very
We
true.
can and we should.
Definitely.
We can when we
Definitely.
are well versed with the subjects.
Yes,
Hmm.
ma'am. Very true. And
So,
then, yeah.
uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
No,
please tell,
ma'am,
doctor.
I just wanted to say, like we realize how important it is only when you start studying. If it's something new, we can obviously just refer it to some other person. Only when you know the advantages,
Basics, yeah.
disadvantages, only then if you're aware of it, you'll be able to do it. Yes.
Hmm. Okay, just tell me one thing. Just in the beginning, beta, you told that you were thinking of a drop just 1 week
Correct.
before. Why did you think like that? You were so
Ma'am,
brilliantly prepared. You revised, you did everything.
correct. Ma'am, I think the fact that we had so much uncertainty regarding the postponement, I think you are sure about that.
Hmm.
Even 2 days before the
Hmm.
exam, with the admit card, we're not sure if we're going to give the exam. I
Hmm.
had exactly 23 days after my graduation to sit at home and study. And I somehow felt like I was not giving my best because I didn't know how the paper is going to be at that point of time. However, when I sat in front of the computer, I started with part B. It just felt like I was doing my notes again, just another
Yes.
GT. And
Yes.
part A, surprisingly, every single person was dead silent in the room, they're panicking, drinking water. Part A, I just started off saying, I'm gonna literally kill this paper. Part A,
Ace
I
it.
could, though it was esophagus, lungs, whatsoever, I could somehow find familiar words. I didn't know everything about that topic, but I knew enough to get the questions right. So
True.
somehow I felt that was very important. We focus so
Yes.
much on going into the depth of the topic. Nobody really needs that. For preparation like that, you don't really need depth. You need to have a huger surface area of knowing the topics, right? So part A was something which I felt more confident than part B, weirdly. So after
Hmm.
coming out from the exam, everybody's like, oh, this, that. I was feeling weird because I thought maybe I made so many mistakes. I don't even realize if I've done it right or wrong.
No,
So yeah,
beta, it's true. And I was so happy that day. Everyone, around me who didn't know us, was
correct.
actually, crying paper was tough. And
Yeah,
everyone, who was our student or who has been in
correct.
touch, they were saying it was easy paper. And I was
Yeah,
really happy. At
yes,
least,
ma'am.
I knew my students, they are going to ace this exam.
Correct, ma'am. So that was one thing which helped. And again, even the previous year questions, ma'am, like I didn't really
Hmm.
know the importance of it at all in the beginning. If I were to do one thing differently, I'd start my preparation retrogradely. Maybe first start with the previous year questions, know the topics
Hmm.
which are high yield, make a list of it, and then start my preparation. Because if you're going to dive directly into something, and then in
Yes.
the end, if you do the previous year questions, you don't really have enough time to do it. But then, yeah,
Yes.
previous year questions is a gold standard. Rather than just mugging up a MCQ book, having a smaller resource like a previous year question was very important. That one thing I really think I wish I knew earlier. But
Hmm.
yeah, last 1 month I really did a lot of that previous year readings and then GTs, of course. So
Very nice.
doing just subjects in
Hmm.
depth, those questions in topic wise didn't really help. I guess GT last 1 week I was so fed up with just doing a subject wise thing. I thought, okay, let me just go do the GTs left, right, and center. So I just revised my GTs. Last 5 days, I just did previous years and GTs, and many
Very
of the
smart.
questions were just around the same topic of GTs and previous year questions itself, even if it was not the
Yes.
same. So I
Hmm.
guess that was a good technique which helped. My seniors told me the same thing. If you don't know which subject to start from, do GTs. So I didn't give the
Hmm.
GTs per se, but I mean, as in the last week, I just revised whatever I had given so far.
Very good. Because in last days you can't study a
Yes,
subject,
correct,
right?
correct. Yes, ma'am.
And since you were an intern, how
Yes.
difficult was it? Or
Internship,
was it easy? Like
yes,
you have to do your postings,
correct.
you are tired, especially
Yes,
prosto
ma'am.
posting. So what
Correct,
would
ma'am.
you like? Is it doable? Because this time interns have got great ranks like you.
Correct, ma'am. So internship, I felt was I wouldn't label it as a bad experience or a difficult experience. Definitely, it was challenging, but it was not something which was not impossible to do.
Hmm.
My college is in the heart of the city, so it has like pretty good patient inflow. It is hectic. One thing I always knew in my mind is I'm an intern first and then a NEET aspirant. So I never was the kind of person who would take my book, go to the library when a patient was around. And I believe patient is the best resource from which you can learn. So be it the case history, be it any department, including public health, I ensure only when there's a patient not around, only when I'm free, I take my book out to study. But once I'm home, I used to take a nap. And then, like I said, there are going to be postings like surgery where you're extremely drained, come back home, you just want to sleep. But I did at least 10 questions before going to bed. And one important aspect of preparation in internship, which I want all of them to really know, is that we are all sailing on different boats. We are no longer the students and friends we were in the first year to fourth year. Our priorities change, we branch out. It's very important to respect each other's priority, which was very challenging for me. I think that if one thing in particular which challenged me the most was this, because all my friends whom I have grown up with the 4 years, some of them wanted to move abroad, some of them just wanted to enjoy internship, some of them wanted to give MDS, some of them just wanted to absolutely do nothing, give up dentistry. And when all of us are put into the same posting batch or in the same group, it gets very chaotic. And to have that mental strength to know that you don't have to wander into their priorities is important. As much as I wanted others to respect the fact that I'm preparing for MDS, I also wanted myself to respect the fact that if a person is not preparing for MDS, I still need to, respect the person for the same. That got a little challenging, especially if I had to take few books. If I'm free to study, people are gonna distract you. They're gonna be very hurtful sentiments like, oh, like you're gonna top the country. You can do it. A lot of these comments did hurt me in the beginning, but then I realized one day, once the results come, it would set me apart from the others, right? Like so that one thing kept me grounded. It did hurt me in the beginning. I did have my breakdowns, but thankfully I had the strength. I had wonderful support system. I lived with my grandparents and parents, so they've always ensured that they give me the reality check when it's necessary. For all the interns, I would like to say this: you don't have to be in the same boat. You have to respect each other, but don't get tempted to follow the others. So many of my friends started out very strong, but then they realize Goa trips are a lot more fascinating than studying pharmacology. So, it just, once you go that side, it's very hard to come back. And 1 year is a lot to give in, right? Like 1 year for like already our course is 8 years, and then you do an extra 1 year. So try your best to get done with internship. For me, I don't think I'm burnt out at all. 23 days of intense preparation, and now I'm fresh as ever. If you have to do it for 1 year, it's a whole different ball game altogether. So you can do it in your internship, just get done with it. You might not be in the top 10, but that's absolutely fine. As long as you're getting what you want to, if you're happy with it, give it your best in the first shot. So that's one thing I want to say.
No, what you have talked about is very important. How you handle temptations.
Correct.
Like, because in internship, many students will also tell it's not possible. Seniors will tell you, then you will not get a rank. Why study?
Correct. Yes,
you have to, do this, do that. Then, what did you think at that time?
I just knew one thing, ma'am. Like this phase had repeated even in third year. I emerged strong. Repeated in final year, I emerged strong. So I just trusted the process. Even if I don't get, at least I won't go to bed with the guilt knowing I didn't try. Even if I would have got a 4,000 rank, I wouldn't have, probably would have cried for a half an hour or 1 hour, but I wouldn't have gone to bed with guilt, because I know even on the day of my graduation, I made it a point. I get back home, do whatever little I can. My whole preparation was just this, when I walk out of the exam hall, I know I should have given my best. Not to tell my parents or not to tell anybody. It was just for myself, my satisfaction of knowing I've given my best. If that didn't work out, I still at least have the courage that I won't cheat myself again. Even if I have to take a drop here, I know I worked so hard, I'll continue to do so. So I didn't really have doubts about procrastination. What if I lose motivation if I take a drop? I didn't have the doubt. I knew my work ethics will get me through. So if you have temptations, just tell yourself that, you've emerged so far and you will continue to do so. That's it.
Dr. POOJA, like what you summarize is actually, you can say, what is the need of the hour. I always tell students since years now, like when you are in college, do justice to your patients, do justice to the environment, because it's also a learning process. Learning curve is involved in the BDS curriculum.
Correct.
When in college and you have patient, don't think of books. But when you are not in college, then don't think of patients.
Definitely.
Don't think of anything else. That's what keeps you going. Otherwise, like, yes, like you said, if you don't utilize internship time and you think of starting journey altogether after internship, yes, it can be done. It is more, you can say, you might feel you get more time, but the peer pressure will increase with every passing day.
Definitely.
It's no joke sitting at home and trying to study for 365 days, 10 to 12 hours or 14 hours. if you can manage somehow with 4 to 5 hours per day with internship.
Definitely, yes, sir.
It saves full 1 year or maybe more in the
Definitely,
times when we need kids keep on
definitely.
postponing like
Correct, sir. And you just mentioned about the patient experiences. Like there's so many questions this year, so
questions which
close
are
to
related to patients only. Yeah.
definitely, like especially oral surgery, Strobe's technique. I still remember asking my PG, "What are you doing with the elevator like that? Why are you twisting it like that? It's not even right what you're doing." And then PG explained to me, "Oh, this is Strobe's technique." He never mentioned it, keeping in mind that it's going to be for PG or anything. But things like this, I had forgotten that completely. But when you
I'll,
see it up in the computer, you're like, "Hey, somewhere I've heard about this." So when a patient is around, learn the best from them. That's what is going to
remind
say.
me of one MCQ of my All
Correct.
India PG exam. It came like, what is the color indicator used in alginate, color changing
Okay.
alginate? I
Okay.
had never read alginate till then, though I'm teaching DM
Okay.
now.
Right.
But at that time, I didn't even know the composition because I never used to like that material per se.
Okay.
But I remember in my ortho posting when we were mixing and we were fascinated with the color changing concept of it. So I just
Okay.
asked my postgraduate student who was standing in working in the next chair why it
Yeah.
is changing color. He said we just add phenolphthalein.
Okay.
That phenolphthalein remembered, like I still remember, like I can't forget
Right.
rest of my life. I don't have to see
Okay.
a textbook to remember that name.
Yes, sir. Definitely. You don't remember it as much, but these personal experience matter a lot.
Personal experiences matter. Like
Yes, sir.
see, any experience, any academic, non-academic, it's an experience.
Definitely.
That's what,
Definitely.
and it keeps on adding more value to our lives every day.
Absolutely.
So, like, what is your, you can say, message to all the listeners, all the people who look up to you now, because you are into a limelight segment of government ranker.
Right,
So,
sir.
short and sweet message in the end, what you say to the juniors, MDS
Right.
aspirants, or any BDS out there listening to you.
One who doesn't believe in himself or herself, who
Yes.
doesn't believe he or she can do
And
it.
one who
What
keeps
would you
on
like to
calling
say?
himself or herself not smart like you.
Yes, not because that is like a misnomer.
Yes,
You're
sir.
very smart. You're smarter than
Thank you
us.
so
You're
much.
smarter than anyone I know of. So you're very
Thank you
smart.
so much, ma'am. Thank you. I would like to say, stick to one source, beginning with trust the source. That's one thing I guess I dabbled with in the beginning. You might find few pieces of information elsewhere. You might be tempted with the FOMO, like I have to do this, but you'll realize in the end that can cost you heavily. It did for me in the beginning, but just in time, like I said, I got back to my notes. So stick to one source, trust your source. I can vouch for the fact if I could do within a short span of knowing Dr. Lal's Academy, if I'm able to do this with short series, they know what they're doing very well. So trust them. You know what the preparation is for 1 year. They've been doing it for years. So trust them with the preparation. That's one thing. Trusting yourself might be challenging at times, but then only when you earn your own self-respect, you'll be able to do it. So blindly, don't just force yourself to do, something which you're not comfortable. And for those of you who don't believe in things like, I'm not confident, those kind of stuff, I would really say, give your GTs. You'll realize you're not as bad as what you expect yourself to be. Right? So only when you have a substantial evidence to say that you're not as bad as what you think, you'll start trusting yourself a lot more. That's one thing I would like to say. And throughout the preparation, just have one goal. Don't have a rank in your mind or a college in your mind or a branch in your mind. Of course, that comes later, but just focus on the process. I just had one quote written on my study table, no other sticky notes, just said trust the process. So just trust the process, give it your best shot, revise as much as you can, give as many GTs as you can. Don't heavily rely on just one source. For example, if you're doing your notes, don't do only exclusive notes. Dabble into resources within the coaching itself. There are going to be questions on the app. There are going to be picture-based questions. So mine was literally a bail puri preparation. I did a little bit of everything. It was not like one focus, this one. And I think that really helped me. And one final tip, which most of you guys might end up losing a lot on if you don't keep in your mind, is to attempt high. One session before the exam that changed my life because I thought 200 questions is what I was attempting. I guess your session drove the points straight home, 230 or nothing. So I went in with that strategy in mind. It's like before playing a chess, you need to know what exactly you're going to do. Before going to exam, visualize yourself sitting in the exam and what you would do. And my aim was this: paper might be easy, paper might be tough. 230, I'm going to attempt. I like it or not, I know or not, it doesn't matter. during my first round of doing the paper, I had hit around 160, 170 questions, not more than that. Second round, it didn't panic me. Many of them are panicking. I could see so many of them stressing out. Two of them even went out to puke. So it was quite a very a very different situation altogether. But then I was like, okay, 170 now. I'm gonna make it to 230. I know or not, I don't care, but I have to make it to 230. And I realized so many questions in the second round because I was actually making an effort to get it at that point was do or die, go big or go home. I was very clear about that. So literally I had to force myself to do it. And when I came back, I did make the mistake of seeing the answer key. I got most of them right. Like whatever I forced myself to think with, whatever little knowledge you do, when you're desperate at that point to get something right, your brain will start to activate. If you look at a pharma question and if you have the brain block, oh, this is from pharma, gone. Anatomy was my weakest subject. I did 10 minutes of anatomy every day in the morning. That's the least I could do. I did anatomy 10 minutes. But when the question came, that fear had gone out. When I sat for the exam, it didn't matter if I know anatomy or not. The question is there, I need to get it right. So I didn't really categorize the information per se. And one last thing is you're going to have tough subjects, but don't label them as tough subjects. They're going to be tough areas in the subject. That's something I realized from Sir in DM. They're going to be, when you're doing DM, there are going to be few topics which are tough, but not whole DM per se. Be it the errors, processing errors, all of that. There are going to be easier topics and tough topics. So don't label any subject as tough subject and have that roadblock. So this is all I've had through my experience.
No, it was really wonderful knowing all these things.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I just
Thank you so
thought,
much.
listening to all this, I just remember one quote: "Where there is a will, there is a way."
Definitely,
Like,
sir. Definitely. Definitely takes a village to support, and I'm very grateful for the entire team for making me enjoy dentistry, for making me believe in myself. I never ever expected to get a rank like this. I was crying after the rank came. I didn't know how to even react. I was in a state of shock. 10 people checked my rank. Still, I was in disbelief. I'm like, this is not right. So, for making this possible, a huge, huge shout out and thank you for Dr. Lall's Academy.
thank you
So
very
much.
much, Dr.
And it was lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Your parents are around, family, everyone, anyone?
Yes, ma'am. My dad is around, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Can we meet him, like talk to him?
Sure, ma'am. Sure. 1 second. Dad?
Sir,
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
congratulations.
Congratulations,
Thank you,
sir.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
You have got such a brilliant kid.
Yeah.
She's
It's
very
all
brilliant
because of
and
your
she.
training. Yeah.
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir, all because of her efforts, dedication towards the like an exam and overall towards the dentistry.
Yeah. Thank
She's
you for
very
your
confident.
coaching also.
Thank you so much.
Thank
No,
you.
she's very confident and I'm sure she's going to do wonders in her life.
Okay, madam. Your blessings should be there, madam.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank
Good
you.
day, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
POOJA.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.